Hello and welcome to the LCS report. We're so happy that we're not talking about a Lion loss, but we'll get into that in just a moment. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, it really does help the video. We've been getting a lot of support recently, and we expect even more during international play. So if you're new here, press that subscribe button. It really does help us.
Hello and welcome
We've
to the
changed the
LCS
overlay so we can
report.
have
We're
some more
so
information on
happy
the
that we're not
bottom. You
talking
can
about
see
a
all
Lion
different
loss.
shows and things that we do on our Discord. You can scan to join our Discord where we have discussions every single day. Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually think I forgot to post the discussion this morning, but I'll post it later. And yeah, you can see that or this, which is another show that we're doing, and any other projects that we have, or like when we try to get a sponsor for Worlds, that's something else that we could do. So yeah, shout out to Martin for the new overlay, and we can just get right into it. Man, that was. I feel relieved more than I am happy watching those games. How do you feel?
If you're a Brazil fan, you're going to be really gutted because I thought like you definitely could have won that series. I think, especially that game five, they, I think they were too hyphy to make plays because they did have a comp that if they were ahead like very very early on, that game was just absolutely doomed for LYON, and I think LYON were just very calculated. They were able to negate a lot of, especially in the game five, a lot of the plays that Loud were trying to make, and I think they just got punished for the mistakes at the end of the day. Like, there was a couple of things. I think it maybe in the Leona game where they were going in on like, do you know you had Poppy W up, you know you had all this up, and you were still going in. So I think Loud did make a couple of like oopsies, but I think it's more telling of the state of the two regions right now than like anything else.
Yeah, the two regions have gotten a lot closer, and I think like when I think back to that game four, the Jace mid, we had like a huge lead, and the fact that we threw that lead, that is a bit worrisome. Like the way that we kind of just collapsed in the mid game, and then Akali and Nocturne were ahead, and it just became very difficult for us to play the game. But Lion is supposed to be the team that doesn't make these random plays. They're supposed to be the disciplined ones that listen to Inspire, that do only take the fights that they know that they're gonna win, and that's not what we saw game four. And Saint had a few oopsies. I will give Envy credit. Envy is actually really good. I was
Yeah.
not expecting this, but like this guy came and like performed to the best of his ability. He came and he peaked. And I don't think we've seen peak Saint, but just thinking that he has to play against Jovi next, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna need a lot. We can get into that matchup later, but I definitely think that this was a very worrying best of five. It did not inspire any confidence in me, no pun intended, that we can beat even G2, honestly.
Yeah, I think at the moment definitely we are amongst the worst. Like off the gate, and this is the easiest matchup to have. Like if you would have picked any team to play against, you're picking Loud, even with the home court advantage.
TSW is definitely the team I would pick. They're significantly worse than Loud.
A lot of people still think like TSW have been like quite decent. They didn't show it in the G2 series, but I think it's closer than like we think. It just doesn't, yeah, like you said, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence there. No, you're right. I think I will give Dokla kind of a free pass because he said he was quite ill. Like apparently he's having like stomach issues, and that's no joke. Someone who has stomach issues. Like I'm not expecting him to perform at the highest level. I think the one thing I think Loud definitely shows with Brazil is they do understand what their comps want to do most of the time. Like especially that Nocturne Akali game. That Akali got blasted in lane, but like the worrying thing, I think the cast said about Jace is what's he gonna do once the team fight start? Like you can literally just jump on his head and like what's Jace gonna do really? I think Saint also got way like too many picks like picked off in like the sideline. Like you're a professional, you know, like at the highest level that you're gonna get Nocturne hard on repeat, and that's what Loud did.
Yeah, I mean the idea with the Jace is you're so far ahead of the Akali that Akali never really has kill threat on you on the side lanes, and come team fight, guess what? You get hit by one EQ by Jace. This guy going full lethality, Yomu's like you just lose half your HP. You can't fight anymore. That's the idea. That's why pros pick Jace. That's why Jace was extremely powerful. But then when you just die 3 or 4 times in the side lane and you give Akali all of this gold, all of a sudden it doesn't matter if you land an EQ because she can just kill you anyways.
The problem
And
you
that's
also
when
had is you had LCS Jin, which reared its ugly head, and like even if he tried to build properly, it's just that champion's absolutely
Does this
useless.
champion ever win? Like, okay, some of the times that Jin loses was not Jin's fault, but I feel like it was never Jin's. It wasn't. It was never thanks to Jin that they win a game. Like sometimes Ashe can land an incredible arrow. You know, Ezreal can have incredible team fights. Yunara, absolute 1v9. Zeri, same thing. When was the last time we were like, oh, they won the game because of Jin? It's always they lost the game because of Jin. Never they won the game because of Jin. And I'm like, oh, please stop picking this champion. I know it's hard with Fearless. You're going down. Like there's like 15 champions banned, 80 carries, especially when you're playing like 80 carries top. But what are you supposed to pick? But at some point, it's like just not Jin, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, where like does Berserker just not play Caitlyn? Because you would think like the LCK prioritizes champions so much. Like you saw how double. Okay, ruler is ruler, so like I'm not gonna say Berserker should be doing ruler things, but you would think that like if you would have reversed those matchups, I think Berserker would have done a lot with Caitlyn. I'm surprised he's not played it like once this season when the champions like it's played around the world, just not in LCS.
It could be matchup. Like maybe they did scrim with Caitlyn and they realized they need Isles on something else. Like if you're playing Caitlyn Nami, like Isles is not really good playing the Nami in that matchup. Or maybe if you're playing the Caitlyn Elise, like what we've seen in other regions, like maybe he's just not a good elite. Who knows? I don't know. But historically, Berserker has had a very specific mentality of 80 carries. And I mean, LS complained about this, but he's like, even if it's like super good, he's like, oh, it can't be good because they're not playing it. So maybe he has that a little bit of that where it's like, it can't be good because they're only playing it in this one specific situation, and we don't get in that situation, so it can't be. I don't know. I'm just like spitballing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
I do want to say about Loud.
Yeah, go.
It reminds me so much of MSI last year, where Furia took G2 to 5 games, and then took what was the Vietnamese team that, or not? Was it the Vietnamese team? Was it GAM? Yeah, I think it was GAM. And then took GAM to 5, and then they just like got eliminated. The first team to get eliminated from play-ins in MSI, but they were like so close, and you could tell that they were a good team. I have a feeling that's going to happen to Loud. Like they're going to play against JDG, they're going to show a good performance, but they're just going to get eliminated.
Yeah, I think the one thing people have already been saying is like, is Furia a better team? And like, probably not, because I think LYON will probably be able to deal with like the early game aggression of Furia a lot more, and I think Loud. LYON just had more discipline, basically. I think that was the difference between the two teams. I think it came down to discipline, because I really liked Loud's comp. Like I think it was criminal that it was able to get Mbessa Sahen in Game 5 of a Fearless.
I know.
I'm like, what? And then they had Caitlyn as well. It's like, I mean, they should be up significantly in the bot lane. They've got like fucking Exodia in the top lane jungle. It's like, okay, well, how have you lost this game? Because who was really meant to kill Mbessa? Like the answer is Mbessa killed herself.
I mean, Jax is a counterpick into Mbessa, but when Mbessa has a 1.5k gold lead at 15 minutes, I'm not entire and solo kill. Dude, that solo kill in the bot lane? Like, forget the top lane. The top lane was influenced by jungle. That bot lane where like Dokla has everything. He uses nothing. He's half HP under tower. He just takes all of the damage, both Qs and the W, or not the W. He didn't even need the W. He used the E of Mbessa. Dry dies, doesn't use Counter-Strike, doesn't flash, doesn't use his leap, doesn't even auto-attack back. I was like, what? Did he just DC? Like, what did I just see on my screen?
It wasn't even, it's just a basic, it was a basic combo, and then he died. It was like, okay, I thought like he was just getting a bit hyphy, and then he got ulted. No, he just straight up,
He had flash. Maybe he wasn't expecting the damage, but like he had Counter-Strike, he had flash, he had hop, like
it's just
he had ult.
It was a weird game for him.
Yeah. I mean, overall, like you said, when you're sick and you're like, there was a series, I can't remember, was it against BFX? I think it was the series against BFX in the lower bracket, where Keen was like dying solo. It was like a very uncharacteristic gameplay from Keen. It was like in the past 10 years, this is probably the one series you can look at and be like, what the hell is Keen doing here? And then it comes out that he was like deathly sick, like just came out of the hospital, like barely can play, can barely open his eyes. Still won the series, by the way. Chovy carried him, but still won the series. And I was like, okay, so only when you're dying, you're on your deathbed, can you play poorly. Besides that, you're just always going to win lane. And we're going to see Dokla versus Keen. Hopefully they're both like 100%. But yeah, not very inspiring to see what NA pulled out today, especially when you have leads. Like, you would hope that my hope for NA is not, I want you to make finals. I know David was telling us on the podcast last week, like, I think LYON can make the finals. My hope isn't that we make it to finals. I really hope that we do beat JDG. But even beyond that, I want this team to get experience. I want Isles and Dokla to learn how to play. I want Saint to get a lot of experience playing against Knight, scrimming against Knight, playing against, what's it called? Chovy. Getting that experience is very important. And I want to see the results of that experience. And I don't feel like today gave me any confidence in the fact that this team is going to level up coming back to North America. But again, it was just one best of 5. Players were sick. We have to wait and see.
I mean, if we want to take the hopium angle, is that we saw absolutely nothing out of JDG despite the first 5 minutes of game 1. So, like, you can't really even draw conclusions on their power level. Like, you can't really...
Game 2 was pretty good.
Yeah, but, like... Okay. Maybe.
They lasted 28 minutes. Can we... Okay. I'll save that for that or this. Never mind. I was about to say, can we outperform JDG? Last longer than JDG?
Oh, we're doing the whole... Remember when C9, like, sped around FlyQuest? Like, oh, are they going to break their own record next series?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be rough, I think, against what's it called? Against Gen G. But moving on to like the JDG versus Gen G series. Dear Lord, Gen G are not messing around. Like, this is why they came in looking like the best team in the world. JDG tried. They had like brought out the Vigar mid. They're like trying to get these edges in the early game, trying to get edges in draft, but it just doesn't matter because somehow Gen G see angles that no one else does. And somehow Gen G create angles that no one else has. And somehow they win fights and they play fights in ways that no one else does. And it creates a situation where it doesn't matter if you have an early game lead. It doesn't matter if you're stacking dragons. It doesn't matter if you're stronger. You're just going to lose anyways. Like, this team is just unbeatable.
They, in game 1, after they dropped down the first 3 kills, that first fight that they got, they just played it like absolutely tremendously. They're using their range. It never felt like BFX could get anywhere near them, and then they just completely stumbled. And like, I thought, are we actually in for like quite the upset when oh wait, sorry, I'm completely mixing up BFX and JDG. But yeah, they're just unfair. Like I actually, this is why I put all this thing. Will Gen G drop a Will Gen G drop a map? Drop a game? Would you take that bet now?
Oh boy, I would probably go with them not dropping a game.
Yeah,
I mean they dropped the game in LCK, so like it was more games. Yeah, so maybe not. Yeah,
they've dropped 2. Zell said that they dropped 2 this entire split.
Yeah, I'm gonna the entire split.
I'm gonna say a third because they did drop 1 in Kesper Cup to C9.
That wasn't during the split though.
Yeah, nah, we count it. We count it.
No, literally, Gen G doesn't count it because the players weren't playing.
It was like against Canyon. Duro. It was against Canyon. And by the way, like,
or was it Canyon? Sorry,
over
Canyon,
almost like 1,200 assists in international games. It's absolutely absurd. That's not even like just domestic plays. International. That shows that the amount of times this guy's been international, and like, it's absurd.
People don't have that many like total kills and assists in domestic plus international. This guy just internationally has that many assists. It's crazy.
So it's always nice to see when like you can actually rack up a different type of record that's not just your domestic games.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this guy has played more international games than most players have played in their career. Like that's how much this guy has dominated, especially after joining Gen G. Like Dom 1 era was pretty dominant, and then what's it called? This era here with Gen G, the past 2 years, he's been kind of crushing it. And even the year before, he still made international with Showmaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gen G are looking crazy. Let's
One mag.
talk
Are
about
we
maybe
not
Loud
calling
versus
C9 bad today, or are
JDG.
we still remembering how they lost to Brazil 3-0? Can we leave us alone, please?
No, we can't.
Leave us alone,
I
man.
don't know if you watch El Dominate's co-stream, but he was I was watching his co-stream of the BFX versus BLG game, game 5, and he was talking about how there's no way that a team with Hextech, a professional team with Hextech Soul, can lose the game, right, guys? No team that's actually coached well and is a professional team can lose with Hextech. And the entire time was just like aware.
That's painful to listen to.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about Loud versus JDG because I do think Loud can have some early game mishaps against JDG, but still kind of bring it back in the dragon fights. I just think that JDG looked like a weak opponent because they played against Gen G.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
And I
I've
don't
not
think that's
seen
gonna
JDG
happen.
at all because I haven't watched the LPL. So, like, I had no read on. Like, you can't read anything from that game. Like, that series, just Gen G's just absolutely way far out. I guess the only thing you can, like, kind of mention is how far away the LPL second seed is from LCK1. That's the only distinction you can make because, well, like, we have historically, like, you would think, okay, LCK1, LPL2 is going to be very, very close. No, this is not. That is not the case anymore. They're like Gen G are like so
And then we saw
far
how
in.
close LPL1 and LCK2 were.
Exactly, which makes it even scarier for the LPL.
Although I thought that was kind of fake, but anyway, we'll get to that series in a little bit. I think BLG definitely could have won 3-0. Like the way they lost game 2, maybe game 3 was like okay, maybe they could have won 3-1, but the way they lost that game 2 was like kind of crazy. Like one team fight, guy gets a pentakill, they win the game. Like okay, that wasn't real. It reminds me of JDG versus T1 back in 2019 or sorry 2023 in the upper bracket final of MSI. It was like that. It was like JDG won game 1 pretty convincingly, came to game 2, they were completely crushing T1, and then all of a sudden T1 win one team fight and then win the game. And then they won. The same thing happens in game 3, and then JDG like lock it down games 4 and 5. But it does remind me a lot of that series. And to Khan's point in chat, I also think the gap between LCK1 and LCK2 is really big. The gap between Gen G and everyone else is big.
Well,
So
blame
I don't think it's like
that.
a fair. What?
Blame Hanwha Life for that.
No,
yes,
even everyone else, LCK like Gen G and the rest of the world is a big gap. So I will say that much. We actually didn't do predictions for LYON versus Gen G, obviously, because we both think it's going to be a 3-0. But do you think it's going to be? Do you think there's any chance?
Should we just do predictions at the end and go through like the series and then go?
Oh, sure. We can do all the series. Sure. We can talk about the BLG versus BFX. I thought BLG are much better team, and it was surprising to me. It wasn't surprising. They for a long time they were bad late gaming for a reason. They just happened to throw leads somehow. And when your entire team is based around we have a hyper carry, AD carry who will win team fights if we get him gold and he gets a kill and he gets gold, late game miracles can happen. They happen twice. I don't necessarily think it'll happen like that versus G2, but it was nice to see that they still had fight in them. BFX, I thought they were going to lose 3-0 to be honest. And you can see where my prediction came from. But the fact that they were able to hold in despite being not much experience and getting crushed in the early games, still keeping that mental fortitude to keep playing is tough, especially at international stage.
I think LCS Vikla, welcome to the international stage. That was rough. It's just in every game, it just felt like they started 4v5. He was just
but you're playing against the second best mid laner in the world.
Like, I know.
It's
but
not fair comparison.
At some point, you just have to hunker down and be the support for your team, not be the anchor for your team. Yeah, it's nice to see Diablo get a pentakill in game 2 of his international thing. Though it's actually crazy to see. Like, I remember, okay, I'm not even trying to bring this about C9. Like, the only other time I watched them is when we played them in the LCK Cup, and like like it was 4 people inting, and then the other one Kaiser like trying to pull this team over the line. That was the only reason that game was remotely close. So I think this kid's got a really bright future.
Yeah, he's gonna be a superstar. He's the next ruler of like ruler Guma Viper. Like he is the next. I think ruler is probably the best description I have.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the next ruler, and I wouldn't be surprised if Genji pick him up after ruler. I don't know if he decides to resign or not. Like they will keep ruler as long as they can, but again, the salary of this team and the contract, it's very difficult to keep this roster for a very long time. So who knows? Maybe Han will Life pick him up? Probably not. It's hard. Anyways, the next series
G2
was
versus Wales.
G2 versus TSW. Oh my god. How does G2 lose 3 games and still win 3-0? Like that was not again, I'm worried for G2.
I admit I only saw the back half of game 2 when they were down considerably and then they still won. It's like okay, I guess this is how this series is going. Because like I already thought, okay, TSW gonna bring it back 1-1 like it's any team series, and then as soon as they lost like that game, just like, okay, this series is done. But I didn't like watch that series. I was unfortunately unavailable at that time, so I'll listen to what you have to say on it.
The best description is G2 versus Fnatic in 2025. You know how there were so many times, especially like, was it this, or is it 2024? I don't remember. I think it was 2024, if I'm not mistaken, not 2025. 2024, at the end of like Fnatic, when they still had Humanoid, and you had like, they had 4 splits, so you got to the final of the 3rd split, and then they had like the big finals. It was that finals where Fnatic had a lead in game 1, and then G2 managed to win that game. Then Fnatic had a huge lead in game 2, and game 2, and then G2 still managed to win that. And then game 3, Fnatic had like a monumental gold lead. Like no one's ever lost with that gold lead before. And it was to the point where like they could have just done Baron and won the game. Like they could have just ended, and they for somehow picked the one out of all like the 14 million different possibilities. They found the one way to like int 5 team fights in a row so that G2 could come back. That's basically what happened. Where TSW were so like competitive G2, game 1. What?
Classic G2, they're losing until they're not.
G2 versus Fnatic. I feel like G2 doesn't do that against other teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, game 1, competitive. G2 makes some good plays. TSW makes some good plays. G2 win, whatever. Like, expected for them to win. Game 2, TSW are dominating. Man, it's looking really bleak for G2. G2 somehow pull the rabbit out of the hat, win that game. You're like, okay, that shouldn't have happened. If TSW mental isn't broken, like if they can just do that again, we can have a series on our hands. Game 3, TSW are destroying G2. It looks like G2 are a bunch of solo queue players versus an actual professional team. And then somehow, some way, I don't even know what happened. They threw, and then they threw, and the game ended. And I was like, wait. If you're TSW, you're like, I feel like we were the better team today. Like, how did we lose those games?
Yeah, that sounds really
Which
unfortunate.
is very worrying against BFX if you're going down tens of thousands of gold in the early game. And BFX seem to not be bad at the late game. It's going to be scary. But they're not playing BFX, sorry. G2 is playing BLG. Yeah. Even against BLG, if you get stomped by BLG, I feel like it's a good matchup for G2 because BLG tend to throw late game. But if they were losing so much against TSW, BLG are just going to end the game in 20 minutes. This could be faster than Genji versus JDG. Like, it legitimately could just be a very, very fast, like, 60-minute series, 65-minute series. Or, if G2 can somehow hold on and let BLG kind of throw, it could go to 5, but I'm just expecting, like, a 60, like, give me under 70 minutes, basically.
Ooh. And the thing is, I'm really excited for this jungle matchup because I think Shun played really well. And I'm happy he's back on the team because I think the players have been very vocal about wanting this guy on the team. It's kind of like it's another like high story. Like as soon as he's off the team, this team plays like complete garbage. He's back on the team to start performing well again. like they're doing like this Shun merry-go-round. And yeah, and like Skumond's been having like a really good like.
Oh, you didn't watch the games, but Skumond legitimately was like the inspired for G2 He was putting out fires. Oh my god, my bot lane's dying 2v2. Let me go save them. Oh my god, my mid laner is like getting his flash burnt under tower. Let me go save him. Oh my god, my top like mid Caps was getting solo killed. Let me go save him. Top lane is getting dove over and over again, getting solo killed. Let me go save him. It was literally the Skewmon show of like just saving the game. Like I know people are gonna talk about Brooklyn Blaze shit. Like it was completely Skewmon just putting fires out. He was a firefighter and he put all the fires out. He was the reason they were even in those games, despite being down like 7,000 gold. So, yeah, it was. This guy showed up so much better than he did last year, and he's continuously getting better. And he might just be like the next Jankos of EU. This guy's really good.
And that does beg the question: is like what they do in their off season if Schema, like they won't change from him now, even if Inspired is going to become on the market. In the summer, like it's a really like, interesting topic for the summer. But as for G2,
I mean, they didn't this year, which was the time you would do it. So
yeah, and the thing is, like, if Inspired continues to perform well, his stock's only going to be like high.
We'll see how high his stocks are after they played in G. League brains, league GMs have a very, maybe not Romain, but like in general, people have very short-term memory. It's like, what have you done most recently? And it's like, well, you can look at my body of work. But yeah, I think Inspired's going to struggle against NG. So is everyone else. Who knows? Maybe they pull a rabbit out of the hat and get very creative with their drafting, and they can take game one and do some stuff. But I'm expecting the two upper bracket finals to be 3-0, or not finals, but the two upper bracket qualification series to be relatively quick 3-0s. I'm not expecting, I'll say this. I'll say in total, I think both series should not take more than 160 minutes, which is like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay, so you're going Genji Frio, BLG Frio.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 3-1 BLG because those matchups between them are never a sweep in any direction. And BLG like you even saw like in their series they had a throw in them, and G2 loves
at MSI.
Yeah, G2 loves a good throw. G2 loves a team throwing, and BLG does have like a cheeky top lane dive that goes.
But that's the
horribly.
Only angle for G2. Like,
yeah,
are they gonna?
I think that's likely.
When they get the 10,000 gold lead, are they gonna throw? As I don't. That doesn't inspire confidence. Also, G2 got 3-0'd by BLG at MSI last year, so technically it did happen.
True, but statistically, like historically,
yeah, it's been back and forth.
Yeah, but I think with LYON, like I want to believe in our NA boys, but them solo laners are about to be in a world of trouble because they were struggling today.
Then everybody,
they're struggling today, and Dokla had freaking a billion counter matchups. And Saint, it's just do what you can, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything against Chovy. I'd like it. There's not even you don't look anywhere. There is nowhere across the board. Maybe I don't know. Like you can't even say like Doro looks shaky. Like outside of like the first 10 minutes of game one where he looked like he was turbo griefing his team. But apart from that, no, there's nowhere to target because like people in our Discord were literally arguing like, oh, why is Isles on this team? But I think it's his first as the international. I can't like you're facing a very select group of teams. You are facing the best from each region. Like I want him to get his like feet under him, and I don't think unfortunately this is the series where you're gonna get any feet, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's mainly just about gaining some confidence to go against JDG.
Yeah. Okay, there's one thing about the format that I'll say that normally Riot does this really, really well. In order to repeat matchups, and not just to repeat matchups, but just like in order to have things be a little bit more spicy, where they usually make the brackets cross. So you would have the winner of JDG versus Loud, which I'm going to predict is JDG, does not end up playing the loser of LYON Genji, which I'm assuming is LYON. So you don't have that as a qualification match. you actually have it cross. So you would actually play the loser not of your side, but of the other side's loser. So it would, in this case, like assuming G2 loses, you would play G2 versus JDG, and then BFX versus LYON. I kind of like that crossing, personally. Now, does it make a difference? Not really, but I personally am a fan of the crossing of, and they do it almost every single tournament since like 2017, I think, or 2018. They've been doing it for a very long time. So I'm quite surprised that they're not doing it. My only guess is some maybe they don't want those specific teams to have to come in on specific days. It could be like a logistical issue of scheduling, but I can't really imagine why it would differ. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they didn't do the cross format.
I personally like. I know you said as well. I've been enjoying this format. Like, I think this is really good for an 8-team tournament. Like, I'm glad they didn't do the Swiss stage like Valorant have done in the past. It just doesn't work well.
Yeah, we got plenty of best of fives, even though we got some 3-0s. Plenty of best of fives. We get Fearless doesn't really work in best of ones or best of threes or best of two. Like, you need these best of fives in order to get to at least a game 3. And we definitely saw it. Like, how on earth did LYON give up Mbessa and Zahen game 5? Like, that was just like shocking.
You know what's really frustrating about LYON not looking good? I do genuinely believe that if they were playing a lot higher level, that this tournament is there for the taking. Not in terms of first place, but definitely like this is the weakest the LPL has been. I looked at JDG and maybe not BLG, but like you look at BFX as well. It's like, yeah, I can see where our teams like can win those, but
yeah.
And then you look like how you did against LYON. It's like, oh man, like we're gonna fumble away a potential like top 3. So we'll see how we get on, but like it's really depressing how I think people are going to look at this with really like sour eyes. Like this tournament, it's like, well, Genji's a blue and everyone else sucks.
I mean, that's how it happened last year, right? First stand, it was Hanwha Life versus everyone else.
Yeah, it did get better as the year went on, but
yeah, but first stand like was complete destruction by Hanwha Life. They were literally for fun picking Kale top and winning. Like it was yeah, and Vladimir and Kale and just like just straight up playing ultimate bravery with professional teams. And it feels like this Gen G could do the same. I want to actually bring a point about BLG where the games that they lose are the games where they pick where they try to play it slow. If G2 can try to have games like that where BLG are opting into that, which they did opt into that a couple of games. If BLG tend to opt into these like slower, methodical games, I can see G2 taking 1 to 2 games even. I just think BLG are smart enough to know when we play these scaling team comps, we don't do well. When we play early game comps, we destroy teams.
Yep.
And win championships. So let's just do that. So we'll see. Yeah, predictions for TSW versus BFX. I think 3-0 BFX. I think it'll be a sweep.
Yeah, 3-0.
3-0. All right. And then Loud versus JDG. Ooh, this is spicy. I think they match up quite well, where JDG are really good in the early game. And Loud are bad in the early game. But they are the team that's sort of like the old, like inspired teams where like even if you're down a few thousand gold, you can find the team fights. You can find these angles, the creative map movements to get some gold. It's just, do I think that it'll matter in the games when you have someone like Gala and you have Honkyu have a gold lead? Do I think it'll matter? I think so. I think they can actually take a game, maybe 2. I'm gonna go 3-1. I'm gonna be safe. I think 3-1 JDG. And Loud will look good.
I'm gonna go 3-0.
3-0. I mean, that's fair.
I think I think that LYON series. You looked at a couple of those players. It looked like it broke their spirit in like that game 5. They really knew like this was our opportunity to get that win, and home sword as well with like the crowd cheering. Like the crowd were great. Like even for the other series, they were like very very good. I kind of maybe a little bit biased because I'm such a big Ginger fan. Then I think he's just elevated even more since he's gone to the LPL. So yeah, I'm gonna go 3-0.
All right. I think that's all the predictions we have.
Yep, that's games
You want
and
to get into some of
predictions.
you want to get into some of the media stuff. So for those who don't aren't part of our Discord, every single day in the mornings we have like a discussion in the morning tea, like a discussion channel where one of us, either me, Martin, or one of the mods, brings up a discussion and we talk about just whatever that discussion is of the day. What I think, was it last week or was it this week? I talked about the Dokla interview where Dokla, not the Dokla interview, but Dokla did a one of his vlogs where he was talking about how he went for media day and like everybody's asking the same question: do you want to win? How is it being in Brazil? Are you excited to? And it's like all these same questions over and over again. It gets like boring real fast and it's kind of stupid. And so we wanted to give a little bit of clarity on why this is happening. And maybe it's not as clear cut as Dokla is making it to be, because if I'm a publication, I haven't asked that question, right? So you can't blame me for someone else asking you that question, because at the end of the day, I only control what I ask. I can't control that other person. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, and I'll let Marn go because he's had a lot more experience doing this than I have and working with actual publications. I'm just like independent, right? Specifically with painting pictures, sometimes a question that I want to ask about Brazil, I can't just ask him about churrasco, for example. I need to set it up. And so my first question would be like, "Oh yeah, you're in Brazil. Have you ever been here before?" And then I use that as a base, get his answer, and then build on that question with question two, and then maybe even a third question. But I can't do that with that base question. And so what might end up happening is you have three publications all interviewing Dokla, and the first one asks the same base question and then asks different question two. The second one does this, only asks that base question, doesn't actually have it as a building block. And then I come along and I ask him that question and I have a very different angle. But he doesn't see that every person had a different angle with that question. He just sees the fact that he got asked about Brazil every single time. And he's like, what's the point? Why are they asking me the same question? Now, and just to caveat this, yes, Dokla, sometimes we ask dumb questions. I've been saying this about media, myself included. We need to get better because we suck. And I've been putting in a lot of effort to get better. Whether you guys notice it or not, I hope you do, but I do think that media has been very lazy with a lot of the questions. And it's time that we take more responsibility of the questions that we're asking, because it is a privilege that we get this time. It could easily be given to someone else. And I think it's our responsibility to make use of the time that we get with the player. Now, as an individual, I can say that, but when you're working for a publication, sometimes you're fishing for certain things or you're looking for certain things. If you're Sheep Esports Brazil, right, or if you're Mice Esports, a Brazilian publication, and you're talking to Dokla, do you really think you have the choice to not talk about Brazil, about the country? Like, obviously, you want to ask every single player about Brazil, about how their experience is, how the food is. Like, that's just something that Brazilian fans want to hear. So at some point, it's also part of your job, Dokla, to hear these questions over and over again, because that is what makes you popular. That is what brings your brand out. That is what fans care about.
And the one thing
Sorry,
I'll add to that is new publications are spawning all the time. So like that's why you see a repeat of these questions, because they have to build authority. And you don't build authority, like taking risks is a good thing, but you also have to remember that these publications who are on very limited budget are going to want to seek immediate results from your interview. So if I'm paying Cloud $50 and he's coming to me with all these risky questions that may not hit, and it's not just performing on Reddit, it's performing on Google, because that's what keeps these things alive. Look what happened to Esports Insider. Like they fell off the Google search algorithm, so that means that like they're done. Like if once you fall off that, your website's done. So it's a problem when the publications will sign or bring in freelance journalists who don't have that experience like interviewing, so they're going to be like heavily guarded by editors and higher ups, and they will have their opinions on what like should be asked and what they think. It may not always align with what we want to ask. Like in my earlier years, yes, like it was. Or these questions were like heavily checked by editors just to make sure that they're good to go. And I do think, I think it's a problem that not. I don't think every person that does this does it for like the love of wanting to be an interviewer. Like you could see like Cecilia, for example, she puts her heart and soul. Like she has like a notebook that she walks around like the venues with, and it will literally have like storylines of every single player she's interviewing. Because I remember like seeing this once when she was interviewing Ruler at 2023 MSI. Like she was sitting there before her interview, just writing notes, like and doing her last minute checks. It's those types of people that why, like, I fell in love with like journalism in the first place, because like it's so tough, man. Because I've kind of gone in like multiple directions there, but I don't always blame media because sometimes it's higher ups that you can't control. And also, I don't think we have enough people that have the passion to be like an interviewer, because sometimes it's just part of the job. Like if you're like doing an event, publications will want you to, like, if you're like a league writer, for example, they will want you to do interviews, and that may not be like your like forte, but that comes with the job. And like people will just do the basic like questions that will get you to those 10 minutes. And also it's not easy. Like as you and I know, like interviewing is not easy. Like when I like interviewed Faker, I was a mess like leading up to that thing, just trying to prepare questions that weren't generic, because that was like my angle for when I did like my Faker feature, is that I wanted to be different than all the other people that just ask him generic questions.
I want to add to what you're saying. I thought you give a very good point of not being able to ask questions that maybe aren't generic, because your editor is going to be like, well, that might be interesting, but it also might not be interesting. And I'm not going to risk the money I'm paying you for something like this when you're first starting off. Look at the interviewers that were independent and look at where they are now. So in the LCS, there's me. I've been doing this since 2024, so 2 years now. There's Mihir doesn't do it too much anymore. Drew does every now and then, but he really moved on pretty quick. He does some like short stuff, but he doesn't really do interviews. You have NA Men, Arsh, who's been doing it for a few years now. And then you have Sheep Esports, who all of their writers, all of their interviewers, whether it's Armand or whoever's doing it, except for Cecilia, are new, right? Then you have Hotspawn, who doesn't really do NA stuff, but even with Hotspawn, their interviewers are new. My point is, there is no Travis, there is no Ashley King, there is no Degon, who has like 10 years of experience, who has that credibility. Like, those don't exist very much anymore. And the ones that did exist on .esports or whatever publication, guess what? Those publications died out.
Yeah. Like Nick Horacio was one of the biggest NA journalists, and like he doesn't do it anymore. And he was like a fantastic interviewer and so on. I learned a lot from. And like these people just have fizzled out. Like Parks used to be one. I forgot his name. Like Asher that now does stuff with TL. Like he was great.
Who's the Valorant guy who did an interview with Dom?
Oh, Sage. Sage has been around.
Yeah,
Sage's been around the same time as me, but he's been in and out of the space. He then went into Valorant. And he got big there, and now like he did one with League. Like League was before his main game, but
and you could immediately tell, oh, this guy has experience. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these newer interviews, like guess what, they don't have that yet, and so it's like one thing of, hey, they need to build out that experience in the poor. And the second point that you brought up of like they might not be as passionate about it. When I interviewed Kryra the very first time in the off season, when he got announced, or maybe right before he got announced for DSG, I'm not entirely sure. I think he had already been announced. No, he wasn't. Whatever. I asked him about him getting banned on Pokemon's Twitch like 10 years ago, or maybe a little less than 10 years ago, I guarantee you that there are very few people that care so much that they would do so much research as to even find out that something like that happened with him. My point isn't to brag, but my point is the level of depth required in order to get really unique interviews, like what's Reddy's Don Jake, yeah. What Don Jake does, it requires a lot of research. It requires a lot of hours, and it requires a lot of effort. And a lot of people don't do that, especially if you're a publication and you have to do multiple different games. Like you were saying, you're a writer, you end up having to do interviews, but you're not only doing League, you're doing League, Valorant, you're doing some games that you don't know too much about, Rocket League, like you don't know too much about the space. And so it's very difficult for you to do, 16 hours of research, not exaggerating, of trying to find out all these specific memes so you can find information about these players that you can actually ask non-generic questions. The other thing is a lot of people don't play the game or are not at a high enough level or watch enough of the game to even ask questions. Like I ask a lot of draft questions. And sometimes the player will be like, yeah, I disagree. And that's fine. I'm not asking because I think I'm right. Sometimes I find it pretty cool where Dom, when he was commenting on my interview with Blabber, was like kind of agreeing with a lot of the stuff that I said. And he was like, I actually agree with him. I don't know why my players decided to pick Nidalee or like didn't ban the Yone. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But the point is, I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to say, like, I've watched a lot of League of Legends. I play the game. I watch what other people say. I'm able to ask questions that maybe I couldn't have done 2 years ago before I got into this scene. So it's also a matter of like, they're very limited in the amount of questions that they can ask. So I will continue to push that we need to get better. And there should be gameplay questions. There should be like non-gameplay questions. There should be light questions. But at the same time, like, let's limit the dumb questions. Like, do you want to win? Okay, like that question, I know he was exaggerating, but that question is just like kind of stupid. All right, like, yeah. No, I came here praying to lose. I can't wait to lose. So yeah, that's sort of my spiel on just everything related to the journalism. And there's also a lot of pressure with fans. Like, if you make an interview and they feel, if you do something risky and they feel like you insulted the player when you didn't really, like, you can literally ask a player, oh, what were you thinking about this? Like, oh, that happened. They'll be like, oh my God, you're saying he sucked. It's like, no, I literally just asked them a question. Oh, you want him to say that he played poorly. It's like, no, I'm not. I want to know what happened. My God, why are you putting words in my mouth? So it can be frustrating from fans' perspective as well. Like, there can be a lot of backlash. So it's a lot more than just like, where's a good interviewer when you need him? Why are they all asking the same questions? Like, well, yeah, what we just said for the past 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, we can just go to questions. I actually got one from Stowen to put it in chat because he didn't have time before the stream started. He said, is road shows in LCS worth playing in the closet 7 weeks straight based on release ticket scheduled by Riot?
I am very doubtful that we are going to be in the closet 7 weeks straight, because one of the things that Riot said, or Mark Z said, is that we will not be in the closet any extra days in spring and summer than we did last year. So the amount of closet days that we did last year, we're going to have this year. So I don't think that's a true statement. I think they just haven't figured out the ticketing stuff probably, or they haven't released it. They probably only, I don't know why it's like that. But even if it were true, yes, we were literally talking about last year how we would put the entire league online in order to have more roadshows. So I do think it's worth it. In the past, I would have said maybe not. But after going to roadshows and after seeing like the amount of energy and just talking to people in Riot and how it feels, not just how it is, but how it feels to the fans, to the players, I absolutely think that even if we have to be in the closet, because guess what? Valorant is the golden child, even though I think Riot is kind of understanding that maybe Valorant isn't the golden child. I think that the roadshows, giving us roadshows is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see more than just spring finals, though. Spring and summer finals. I won't be happy if the promised roadshows this year were just 2 finals. Like, yes, it is a step in the right direction, but it's a step to like return to normality because we had this before. So I just want to see that. That's like my thing that I want to hop on to Rise. Please, between spring and summer, like finals, please give us one extra roadshow. I don't care what it is. You put us in a theater, that's fine. But to actually answer the question, would I tank being in the arena? Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't I don't actually care whether we're in the closet or in the Riot Games arena because the fans just basically they aren't loud enough for me. Like they aren't like there's no passion. It feels like they're like
That's the thing. There's no passion. Like you see your favorite player, where is the chance? Like Blabber, like when he makes a great player or inspired, we see incredible League of Legends. Like that, those Lion, the Dokla series, my counter picking Vayne. Where were the Dokla chants? Where like nothing? It was
Yeah.
It look at it. This arena is even smaller than the Riot Games arena, and man, they are so loud and passionate, and even for teams that aren't their team. And it used to be like that back in the days with TSM and CLG and Curse and Cloud9. We used to have that passion, and it's sad that it's gone, and we need to figure out how to rekindle that passion. Unfortunately, that's not a project for myself. I don't live in LA. I'm not planning on moving to LA, so maybe I can talk to like Vivian or someone who's like actually there and is passionate about it and can start like a project of reinvigorating the fan culture. But yeah, we lost it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Catman asks, "Is this Chovy's year?" We say yes every year, and I'm just gonna keep saying yes until it happens. Like it has to come at some point. It would be the biggest tragedy in esports if this guy doesn't win a Worlds. Also, it has been his year. Your question, Catman, is will Chovy win Worlds? Regardless of whether Chovy wins Worlds or not, he's an incredible player who has reached heights that we have not seen since like Faker in 2013. And honestly, maybe he's reached even higher highs. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, a very famous like basketball player, he had won the NBA in 2022. In 2023, he didn't. He like lost in the round of 8 or whatever it was. And an interviewer, a reporter, asked him, "Do you consider this year a failure?" And he was like, "What do you mean it's a failure? Like that's the nature of sports. Not everybody's gonna win. Every year that you don't win a championship, that you don't get a raise at a job is a failure. No, you still like competed. You still tried your best. You still learned. You still improved. Like that's the nature of sports. If Chovy doesn't win, that doesn't mean he failed that year. I know that as fans, we look at it that way. But that doesn't take away his LCK titles. It doesn't take away his accomplishment. That doesn't take away his dominance. It doesn't take away the MSI title that he won. That doesn't take away the fandom, the number of people that want to learn from him and be like Chovy. Like it doesn't take away from all of that. So it has been Chovy's era. We are living in Chovy's eras, and it's just he hasn't won World. But that's the only thing stopping it from being literally the Chovy decade, the decade of Chovy.
I mean, if he retired today, he'd be going down as one of the greatest players of all time. Like I don't. I'm also on the boat of okay, he hasn't won the big one, but he's still got a storied career that most players would kill for. Like he does have a fantastic career. Yes. Do I think until he wins it, you have to bet against it. In my opinion, he had to just bet against him how many times like his team has come in as the dominant favorite to not win. Ultimately, yes, it does come down to like it does lose to T1. It's a bit like ironic at this point. And like if you actually had to bet will they lose to T1 again this year, you wouldn't be surprised. Even if you're looking at this state, and because we said this last year, like is T1 going to win? Like when they were doing the whole like Smash and Gumusi trade, and you're like, no, they're nowhere near winning a Worlds, and then they end up winning Worlds. I think they win it this year. I don't think a team's going to be that good at any point this year. I think they're going to win Worlds.
I mean, it's kind of early to predict, which is the fun of the question, Catman. Thank you for the question, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. All right, Khan, who's also in chat, says, "How important is it for global LoL esports for first stand to have someone upset LPL or LCK to make top 4? How important is it for global LoL esports?" Not that important. I don't think it's like too important for them to have an upset at first stand. Maybe MSI and Worlds, yes, but first stand, not so much. It is a new tournament. It is a very short tournament. It is probably the least viewed tournament and the least prestigious tournament. It is the tournament that the least amount of people, including players, care about. So it's like, in terms of importance, I would put it as at the bottom, if that makes sense.
And I mean, like, KC didn't even go to Worlds last year, and they were in the final of first stand. Like, so I don't think winning here is the only way this matters is if an NA or EU team wins, in my opinion, because we've already seen like EU go to finals last year, and like it wasn't talked about like very, very quickly afterwards. Just because how like dominant that final was. I will say this is probably the West's best chance of making another international final. Like, because I do think BFX and GG, while they're still good teams, I definitely see like you see holes in their game where like yes, I think Junja's incredible, but we have Inspired who can match up against him. Like we do have good players. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the perspective of this is our best chance to upset, LYON versus JDG is upsettable. BFX versus G2 is upsettable. We have chances, whereas in MSI, we don't really have the same chances because of the format. At Worlds, we haven't beat the East in a best of 5 in like, was 2019 the last time we beat them in a best of 5? Dang, that was a lot. 2020 was the last time we won a best of 5 against an Eastern team at Worlds. Even with the introduction of Swiss Stage, like, yeah, it's been a little difficult. But in general, I don't think first stand matters in terms of competitiveness because we saw what happened with Hanwha Life. They were by far the best team in the world. And then once MSI came around, they didn't even make it. So things tend to change up. I don't put too much weight. I don't feel like, oh, there's a gap that's being built or anything like that. I actually take it as an opportunity for our teams to close the gap that already exists. Because it's not like Gen G are coming here to Brazil and getting better, right? They're probably just maintaining their form. That's the whole point. Whereas our teams can actually start catching up. So I think it's actually maybe not important, but it's a positive for Western League of Legends to have first stand because then these teams can improve. And even if we don't get the upset, we got the scrims, we got the experience. Like we said, Saint never played an international game with LYON. Same thing with Isles, hasn't played any international games. So getting that experience, I think, is more important than the actual act of upsetting them. I'd much rather take the upset at MSI, at Worlds, than I would at first stand. And I think it matters more, right? Like you said, KC making finals wasn't as impactful as, you know, when what's it called? Back when the format sucked, CLG made the finals. That was a lot more impactful in 2016. So that's where I'm going with it. Next question here is from Septa Squirrel. Based on the first round of matches of first stand, does the LCK/LPL team lose to a Western team in a best of 5? If so, who? Ooh, I'll let you go first.
Did he say based on the first round?
Yeah. Based on the first stand, do we think an LCK or LPL team will lose to a Western team in a best of 5? If so, who?
I think the logical one would be... Oh, I don't know, man. Maybe BFX, just because I think you can get out in mid lane. I think Caps can do some nasty things to Vikla. And I just think that across the board, they're obviously outside of AD carry. I think you can get out their team like a lot easier than JG, who I think does have some really good like across what you got Junja, Honkyu, Gala, like that's just to name them, and I think Xiaoshu's a pretty good top laner as well.
Yeah, I think BFX are probably the most likely team to lose, which means they would lose to G2. I actually think LYON have a better matchup into BFX than G2 has into BFX. But obviously, the matchups don't work that way. It's going to be G2 versus BFX if G2 lose and BFX win. So I think probably I would say BFX. But I also think LYON has a chance against JDG. Like, don't count them out. They have a legitimate shot. Do I think both of them are going to upset? I mean, I got to stick with my NA boys and say, yeah, both JDG and BFX are going to get knocked out. And to Khan's point, we'll show that the gap is closing. And then we'll play against BLG and Gen G and get absolutely stomped to oblivion. And we'll think, oh my God, how dare us even enter the same room as these teams? We're not even the same discussion. And then the gap will seem as wider than the Grand Canyon. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking here. That's the last question. Actually, I thought we had one more, but I guess not. All right, thank you all for the questions. Episode was fun. You got any shoutouts for us, Marn?
Shout out for LYON for not winning and sending NA into complete despair by losing again to Brazil. Because then at that point, it's just absolutely cooked on socials. So thank you, LYON.
Dude, if we lost to Loud, oh my God.
Yep.
After game 1, I was about to tweet. I was waiting for the 3-0 because like we stomped game 1. I was waiting for the 3-0 and I was gonna tweet out like, I don't understand why this team wants more spots in international play. And then it went to 3-2 and I was like, okay, I can't tweet this. I can't tweet this. I'm gonna die.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other shoutouts?
I just like thank you everyone for watching. Like commenting. Like we are trialing the new like comment feature that appears every time someone does like a comment. So if you want yourself to feature on broadcast, now's the time. Obviously, be sensitive to what you say because I will have to remove a message if it's too much. But yeah, get your comments in.
Yeah, for myself, shout out again to Marn for the new overlay. I really like the LCS, the like the right side overlay where it shows like when the next game is and like what the score was and also the stuff that we post like that or this and the comments is pretty cool. It makes it so that if I am responding to a comment or something like that, you can actually see what comment it is. You're not completely blindsided. So that's really cool. Shout out to you for doing that. And then on my own personal TikTok, I started a series where I'm just like documenting my journey to interviewing Faker in Korean. So every day I kind of just go through what I'm trying to do to get there. And it's been pretty fun. So shout out to that. Self shout out, I guess. And shout out to everyone who came and watched and cheered for North America. It was very loud. Oh, wait. Shout out to the LCS, the Riot Games, the CBLOL Arena. It was so cool seeing like the analyst or the desk or whatever you want to call it, and then the fans on the side and like doing the translations and answering questions. And that girl that just like became the translator all of a sudden and like was when they asked after game 1, she was like, "Oh, what do you think needs to happen?" Or before game 1. They asked her like, "Oh, what do you think is going to happen based on first stand? Do you have more confidence?" She was like, "Well, what we saw on first stand, I'm not talking about what we didn't see. We didn't see the LCS, so I'm confident in Loud beating the LCS." I was like, she just like Lecro, which she like killed it. Just everybody, the fan, the energy. Shout out to Brazil. Vocês muito bons, muito obrigado, and